Independent thought, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Americans believe we must support the brave men and women in blue who police our streets and keep us safe. Americans also believe we must improve accountability, increase transparency, and invest more resources in police training, recruiting, and community engagement. Americans want law and order. They demand law and order. What's needed now is not more stoking of fear and division. We need to bring law enforcement and communities closer together, not to drive them apart.
That was Trump yesterday. You can hear it. He's outside in the Rose Garden signing his executive order when it comes to the reform that he's pushing somewhat through. It's one of those things where, is it enough for some? No. Democrats, it's not enough. You want to ban the chokehold completely. They want a federal database. They don't want states to handle any of that. They want the qualified immunity gone. And I continue to say, I'm okay if you want to get rid of qualified immunity, but are you going to do it for everybody? Are you going to do it for the judges? Are you going to do it for governors and presidents and politicians? Are you going to do it for the first responders that are not the police? And are you going to help them pay for their lawyer fees and what it's going to cost them when it comes to buying insurance? If you don't know what qualified immunity, essentially, right now, because the police do what the police do, right? It's a tough job. You're out there. You're scraping and scrapping with people. When you usually run into people, it's not the best moment in time. And some of them, well, they say they've been abused. And some of it's true. But at the same time, some of them say it, and it really hasn't happened. But you can file a lawsuit without qualified immunity. You can file a lawsuit against that individual. So imagine how many times officers come in contact with people. Imagine that. So what if, on average, there's 300 million to 250 to 300 million interactions with police? Let's just say, we'll just say 300 million across the board. Imagine if it was 2% that filed a lawsuit. That's 6 million lawsuits against individual police officers. Who wants to be a cop? Even if you have insurance, right? Because you'd have to go out and buy insurance like doctors do. So even if you had some insurance, you're going to also have to get lawyers, which that's not going to be covered. What do you think you're going to have to pay a cop to cover all of that? 60 grand ain't going to do it. You're paying $2,000 a month for insurance, right? And then on top of that, you've got to potentially have lawyers all the time on retainer. Yeah, that just seems like it's a bit much for me. But I thought it was a step. Was it a great step? It was a step. Let's be real. It's not going to make some people happy, and for other people, they'll say it was an okay step. I wish he wouldn't have done this because I feel like he's caving to pressure. You're never going to make everybody. Here's the problem. It used to be you're never going to make everyone happy. Now, you make virtually no one happy. Ever.
Under the executive order I'm signing today, we will prioritize federal grants from the Department of Justice to police departments that seek independent credentialing, certifying that they meet high standards on the use of force and de-escalation training. Chokeholds will be banned, except if an officer's life is at risk. And I will say we've dealt with all of the various departments, and everybody said, it's time. We have to do it.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. If an officer's life is at risk, I spoke the other day to Brandon Tatum. He's a former police officer out here in Arizona. He's got a YouTube channel. He's all over the place. You can see him everywhere. He's on with Dave Rubin and Fox, and he's been on CNN, everywhere else. And I spoke to him the other day, and I spoke yesterday to Sheriff Penzone, who beat Arpaio a few years ago. And they say the chokehold, in theory, sometimes it's overused, but in theory, it's rarely used anymore. And when it is used, it is supposed to be the last resort before it's time to draw the weapon. Not the taser, the weapon. And we've talked about it on numerous occasions since George Floyd, and they've said the same thing. Look, when you're in the position where it is truly a life or death potential, all bets are off. You're fighting for your life. Whatever you have at your disposal, you use. Should it be used in everyday situations? No. Has it been abused by departments? Yes. But I've also spoke to a couple officers who've said, I worked for 15 years and I've never once used a chokehold. So it varies, but it's a big thing to talk about. Me growing up in L.A., because of what took place at the Rampart Division, which was a big scandal, I assumed that chokeholds were pretty much out everywhere outside of the end kind of it's on kind of scenario. But it's not. And in some places across the country, you have to be trained in certain specific situations to even apply a chokehold. It's a step in the right direction. Is it the step that everybody wants? Well, any step in a direction that's positive is good. But for some people, it'll never be enough. Oddly enough, Van Jones gives Trump a little credit.
There were a number of families there who spoke directly with the president, with Barr, and also with Tim Scott, and all those law enforcement people were there listening, and they basically just told their stories, which apparently, according to the people I talked to, there were tears, and I think the president was kind and gracious to them. I think it was good that that did not turn into a big photo op, that did not turn into kind of a big media moment. That was more of the process of trying to move this White House forward. And I think those families feel good about having had the chance to tell their stories to the people who have a chance to make a difference.
Yeah. Now, is it perfect? No. Will it be perfect? No. Is it a step in the right direction? I think it is. But there's a lot more work to be done. And some of that we're going to talk about in a little bit is the training side of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Do you guys remember this?
Aunt Jemima. I wish I was on the cotton, north and south, not forgotten the way. Smiling, happy Aunt Jemima, famous for her secret recipe, pancakes, waffles, and buckwheat. What's your happy thought for today?
Well, Mr. Lyon, folks says you can't buy happiness, but you can earn it.
Yes, Aunt Jemima, and I guess we all want to be happy. Let's have one of your old-time sayings, Aunt Jemima.
Well, here's a true word, Mr. Lyon. The happiest folks don't measure time by years, but by the smiles they help spread in the world.
Yeah. Quaker Oats, owned by Pepsi now, said that they are going to do away and replace Aunt Jemima with a new image and a new name. And I got zero problems. I've seen people freaking out. Oh, my God, this is what... No. If you have any study of what Aunt Jemima is, Uncle Ben, several of these, it goes back to the minstrel shows in the 19th century. If you look at some of these things, the mammy kind of, stereotypical character that they built her around, and I got zero problem with it. People are going to, the Breitbarts of the world are going to freak out, right? Oh, my God, this is what we're coming to. No. At some point in time, you look up and you say, that's the right thing to do. It is. It's the right thing to do. We're better than that. And I applaud them. They're doing something different. They're doing a full change, right? They're changing the entire thing. The brand itself, across the board. They're changing it all. And I got no problems with that. Do I think some of the stuff that the wokeness goes after, like They're going after Rice Krispies? Because there's 3 white kids on the Rice Krispies. And I'm like, hey, that's the kind of stuff where you just shake your head and say, whatever. That I can't listen to. This, I got zero problem with. Zero problem with. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Oh, my God. You guys are going to want to stick around. We have the best, craziest, hilarious lady who went into one of the city council meetings in Ventura, California, and she's spectacular. You got to hear what she brought, like props. It's amazing. Hey, CarShield is incredible. They are. They help you out in ways you could not believe, and they do it for a price that doesn't break your budget. They're going to save you from all those repairs that are eventually going to come with your car. A lot of people, your car's out of warranty. You're not getting a new car right now. You want to make sure you keep it running because, hey, you never know what's going to happen. So what do? You call CarShield, 800-CAR-6000, mention code Benson, saves you 10%, and they're going to fix you up with something that will cover your budget and your car and its repairs. Now, maybe your car's a little newer. You're worried about the sensors and the electronics. Maybe it's a little older. You want the transmission, the engine. That's why you call them. Be specific in what you're looking for. You get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And that shop is the shop that you choose. You pay a small deductible. They get them paid directly. Again, rates start as low as $99 a month. Protect yourself from surprises. Save thousands. Call CarShield today. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson or visit carshield.com, carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader?
Fui.
Fui, fui, and double fui.
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Fui to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
Justice Department attorneys argue in an emergency lawsuit that Bolton's book, The Room Where It Happened, should be stopped from publication because it appears to contain classified information, echoing a threat from President Trump.
I will consider every conversation with me as president highly classified. If the book gets out, he's broken the law. And I would think that he would have criminal problems.
The Justice Department claims it's not seeking to censor any legitimate aspect of Bolton's manuscript.
I don't know what's in there. It's supposed to be on 60 Minutes, I think, this week. He's got a huge, you got a fat advance. And, of course, by the way, the lawsuit, because I have a feeling the book's going to get out anyways. Welcome to the world we live in. The lawsuit's only going to help the book. Do I believe everything in the book? I don't know. I've not read the book. Do I think some of it? When you write a book, you put a little mustard on some of the stuff. You tell stuff from your point of view, and if you're pissed and angry, you're going to tell a story from your point of view as pissed and angry about said whatever it is. Right? So that's what he's going to do. Is some of it probably very real? Yeah, absolutely. Is some of it maybe put a little mustard on some of it? That is a possibility as well. What I do know is the best thing that can happen for Bolton is something like this, because it just gives him more of an opportunity to get the press and go and love it. I do think the book will come out eventually. And I'm sure the White House, when he said he was going to write a book, he submitted everything that he said he was going to talk about, and the lawyers have looked through it, and then Trump's come in and said, no, I want all that to be classified. Why? Because they're fighting. And it's gotten ugly. And that's the world that is. With Trump, once you leave, very few people who leave are welcome back, or does he speak really highly of? Very few. Says something right there. Trump burns the bridge. He blows it up. The way he feels, you're either with me or you're against me. You're switching teams as far as he's concerned. So for Bolton, this could be a pretty good thing. And I still think eventually it'll come out. Doesn't mean it won't be delayed, though. Doesn't mean that.
While President Trump has tweeted that it's a big day for the stock market and jobs after the Commerce Department reported a record jump in retail sales in May. In front of the Senate Banking Committee, Fed Chair Jerome Powell made clear the economic recovery is far from over.
Even after the unexpectedly positive May employment report, nearly 20 million jobs have been lost on net since February.
He says the economic effects of COVID-19 have disproportionately affected communities of color and women. He also said a full economic recovery is unlikely if the public isn't confident that the disease is contained.
And that's what we've talked about since the beginning. The psychological aspect of COVID-19 and dealing with it in a day-to-day situation, whether you're out shopping, whether you want to go get something to eat, doesn't matter what it is. If you feel that there's a chance that you could potentially get sick, if you feel that, even if you're secure in your job and you have money, you may not spend it at all. Then there's the other side of things where people aren't really afraid about it, but they're worried that the economy is going to slow down even more, and then a second wave comes and that they're going to lose their job or their business, so they're more apt to pull back on the spending as well. Then you have the domino effect, and that's not the effect that moves us forward. A therapeutic, a vaccine, love to have both right now. We don't. Maybe we get a therapeutic sooner rather than later. Fingers crossed and hopeful. But the reality is, at this moment in time, it's anybody's guess where this thing's going, how long it's going to be here, if there's comes and waves, if it's going to disappear for a few weeks or months and then come back, or if it's just going to stay here all the time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. That's your Twitter, kids, and your Instagram as well. Check out the Facebook page. It is the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We expect to have, it's like a record-setting crowd. We've never had an empty seat, and we certainly won't in Oklahoma. As you probably have heard, either close to or over 1 million people wanting to go. We have a 22,000-seat arena, but I think we're going to also take the convention hall next door, and that's going to hold 40,000, so we'll have 22,000 plus 40,000, which would mean that we'd have over 900,000 people that won't be able to go, but hopefully they'll be watching.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great idea. To be honest. Great article in the Wall Street Journal talking about several recent large studies that have come out that talk about how you can contract it, what's the easiest way that people are contracting it. And places like arenas is an incubator. It's not a good thing. It's just not. Being honest, crowds. They said in this study, and there's several large studies, and we're not talking about tens of people, we're talking tens, thousands, and hundreds of thousands of cases they've looked at. How can people are contracting it? They said surfaces, it's so minuscule to even think that you're going to catch it from a surface. So, right on. I mean, I think we're kind of realizing that. It is close spaces, people talking, singing for we're not just talking about somebody not giving a hug. We're talking about over several minutes to hours in close proximity to one another. And as they talk about reopening, they're saying, hey, we shouldn't talk about closing down again. What we need to talk about is how we physically distance in a better way while we search for not a cure, a vaccine and a therapeutic. Do I think this is a good idea? I do not think this is a good idea. I do not at all. I think the risk factor is huge. I do. People say, well. No, look, I get what people are saying. Meghan McCain said this, and I agree 110%. I agree 110% about what she's about to say. And here's the thing. I don't agree always with Meghan McCain. She's not a big fan of mine at all. And I'm okay with that. But she's right here.
There's a lot of hypocrisy to go around here, and I don't think anyone should be in giant rallies right now because we've been told by medical experts it's not safe. But the message from the media is as long as you are protesting something or going to a rally that is of the right politics, you can do it, and we're going to ignore the spread of COVID. So going to a Trump rally is somehow much more dangerous than going to a rally in Brooklyn over the weekend. I'm removing politics from this because I haven't protested anything, and I'm not planning on going to the Trump rally, obviously.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. You can't, and this is the problem with trying to tell people if they're thinking about a second shutdown, you can't say you had 2+ weeks of God knows how many people nationwide on a nightly basis protesting in large gatherings, but somehow other things are wrong. She's right. Trump having 15,000 people in an arena, they were outside. Even if you had it outside, people still say it's bad. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. But the reality is this is what we're dealing with. This is the hypocrisy of the media. But is it a high-risk situation? I believe it is a high-risk situation. I absolutely believe it is. Doesn't matter, though. If I was Trump, I wouldn't do it. But he's Trump. 1 million people want to go. And good to them. All power to them that they want to go. Just like the same thing. I stood behind the protesters because I'm not going out to stand with anyone. Because as we all know, I don't like to be anywhere where I have to park and walk. I mean, I don't go to sporting events. I mean, yeah, you listen to the show enough, you realize, hey, Chad just kind of likes to do his own thing by himself. But I was for it. Do it. Totally fine. But there's a risk out there. And you can't say to Trump, you shouldn't do this, while other people are doing something similar.
The highest risk sort of scenario would be indoors, attendees coming from all these various areas, difficult to practice physical distancing. Indoors is going to be far worse than outdoors. Not wearing masks, a lot worse than wearing masks, not keeping distance if they're filled to capacity. There's no magic here. There's no scientific proclamation where you're going to have some sort of revelation about this. This is the worst case scenario. That's basically, if there is a person there who has the virus, the idea that it could spread and turn into a super spreading event would be a big concern.
And what if it does? Well, you got to sign something. It says you won't sue. The hypocrisy is very real, and it gets frustrating. It does. We've already, we're not going to the conventions. Normally we would go to the conventions. We said, this year we're not going to go. There's nothing about it that appeals to me. It seems to be, it's good. It's half-assery at best. But on top of that, even in the best case scenario, it's for me, it drives me crazy. I don't want to go anywhere. Like, the first thing I think about when I go to a place like that is like, do I have to park? How far do I have to park? Where is it? And then the entire time at the event, I'm like, God, I got to walk a mile. There's going to be traffic. I don't enjoy the event. But I'm also saying to myself, you know what? I'm playing it safe. I work with a lot of people. I'm not worried so much about my health. And the people I talk to, like most of you who listen, some of you take it very seriously. Others think it's a giant hoax and that this was used to destroy Trump, whatever. But every person all say the same thing. Well, I'd be worried if I gave it to somebody else. And that's just it. It's about being responsible. But the hypocrisy of the whole Trump rally, that annoys me. Get over yourselves. You can't say, hey, go out and do these things and protest. That's fine, but you guys can't get together over here.
What we're seeing is a lot of anger. The messaging is very confusing for people, and we can laugh all we want on here, but this is the most angry I've seen a lot of people I know in the center and on the right because the messaging is very confusing. Is COVID a pandemic that we all have to stay sheltering in place and inside, or is it not? Or is it only a pandemic if you are a conservative and you're a Trump supporter and then you have to stay inside and you're a hypocrite if you sign this waiver and you go into his rally, but you're not a hypocrite if you go protest someplace else? It's very confusing.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say against that. She's right. Meghan McCain right there. She's very right, which I don't often say. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me. To mask or not to mask? That is the question. I promised you this. It's spectacular. Dr. Fauci said about the mask early on that you don't need to wear one because they're worried about the PPEs. See, this is my problem with to mask or not to mask. This is how I view the mask. If I'm out and I'm by myself, I'm not wearing a mask. If I'm with my family, not wearing a mask. Right? Because we've met. I know them. We're good. If I go to a store that asks me to wear a mask, I will wear a mask. I respect that. I do. I don't go to many places, so I'm not going to wear a mask in my car. I don't go to clubs. I don't go to restaurants. But I understand why people are upset on both sides of the aisle. And then they get emotional. And once the emotions come in, all bets are off. But to mask or not to mask is very real. We've turned this thing into politics. So this woman, she's upset. She goes to the Ventura City Council meeting. She has props. She's got all kinds of stuff. She got the pointer stick. She got the whole 9 yards. She's going to let them have it. And her feelings about said mask.
I am a healthy American. I used to be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that...
By the way, I have no idea the sex slave thing. I have no idea what that is about, but that is pretty spectacular.
I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks. I am not a burglar. I am not a pandering politician like we see here. I am a proud Trump Republican yearning to be free again. Who are you, victim or victor? Shame on all of you. Let liberty ring. God bless America, land that I love.
She is awesome. We should get her on the phone. What's the sex slave thing? What is that about? Is there, I mean, I'm unfamiliar. Do they have to wear masks? I am unfamiliar about any of that. But she is awesome, and she's not a sex slave, and she used to be free, and God bless America. The mask thing is, yesterday, and this is what I tell people, you do what's right for you. I get a lot of pushback from people, and it's funny. I know in my business, when you're doing something right, when you can talk about something and both sides attack you because you've touched on a nerve and you've set them off. You do what's right for you, right? I'll do what's right for me. I respect people, and I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. If this makes you comfortable, do it. Here around work, on Monday, inside these studios, they were said, hey, you guys, Arizona's becoming a hot spot. We're asking people to wear a mask when inside the building, when it's possible. So if you're going to a common area, we'd ask you to wear a mask. If you're walking from the booth to the bathroom and you're by yourself, don't worry about it. I got no problems with that. I respect those kind of things. Same things when it comes to businesses. But some people have turned this into insanity. And I think to myself, you've got to stop watching TV. You've got to stop watching those 24-hour news channels and going to weird websites. The news is meant to lure you in with clickbait and lunacy. You're not going to find much outside of that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I just love that I am not a sex slave. I'm like, what? Where did you, like, I am not I'm not a burglar. Like, okay. Oh, my Lord. So, credit card bills. You've got them. Everybody's got them. And your balances, even if you have great credit, your balances often, when you look at those percentage rates of what you're paying on your interest, it's insane. Average APR is 19%. My friends over at Lightstream are going to beat that and save you thousands. Get a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream. You can save thousands upon thousands in interest. Get a rate as low as 5.95% APR with autopay and good credit. Lower than the average credit card interest rate. No fees. It's fixed. And here's the other thing. So easy. You can do it online. It takes a few minutes. You apply early enough. You can even get the money as early as the same day. Just for being my listeners, you go to lightstream.com/Benson and save you even more money. LIGHTSTREAM.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. God bless America, the land that I love. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
The medication dexamethasone has a positive impact on mortality or death rates in those who are hospitalized and severely ill. Reportedly up to 1/3 improvement in outcomes for those on ventilators or breathing machines. I'll say the medical community is cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. Cautiously optimistic. What is it? It is a steroid that's pretty much available kind of everywhere. And they're not giving it to people. So let's just say you're curious to get, and you go and you get tested. You really don't show any symptoms. You're not going to get it. But you're really sick. Then you get really sick. Then you go on the ventilator. That's who's been getting it. And they're saying in the UK, had this been given at the beginning, it would have cut the death rate by 1,000. And some people are also saying, had this been given at the beginning, and you gave it to people earlier into the virus's destruction of your body, it may have even done more. Is this the therapeutic that we're looking for? This could be this one. I don't know if it's the one. I don't know if it's a game changer. What I do know is it's here, and they're going to try it, and it's widely used. Not only in Britain, but other places. Now, we've got this and remdesivir that are out there. And that's, we're moving in a direction where we're starting to see some stuff that I think shows some glimmers of hope.
Unlike remdesivir, which has received a lot of attention previously, but is expensive and in limited supply, the potential impact of dexamethasone is that it's cheap and accessible is definitely exciting.
And that's good. A lot of that, you got to think about that. It's like a vaccine. I mean, everybody gets excited. Well, what if we get a vaccine? We're getting so close to all kinds of stuff. That's great. But if we found a vaccine tomorrow, don't expect it to be everywhere by Monday. It takes a long time to ramp up. All of these companies that are in the vaccine studies, once they get to the point where it's starting to get serious and they're in the human phases, which is what they're doing now, much like a movie industry, they're looking for distributors. So they're going to other large pharmaceutical companies and manufacturers and saying, can you be our distributor? If we get this right, can you make X, Y, and Z? So there are some that they're in that mode already, but we're still a long way off. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I paid more for gas today. It was nice. It was down to like $1.79. Now it's up to $2.20.
Demand for gasoline rose 2.4% over the last week. According to a FEMA memo obtained by ABC News, that's 9.5% higher than this time last month and the highest level in 3 months. Analysts are now forecasting an increase of 10 to 20 cents at the pump by the July 4th holiday. This data coming from FEMA's National Business Emergency Operations Center. Lionel Moise, ABC News, New York.
Gas going up. Sucks. Hate paying more. The beauty is I don't live in California, so I'm not paying those ridiculous prices. But the reality is it is going up. Demand, noticing in some places, demand's getting bigger because the roads are a little fuller. Not quite to the situation where, I leave here, I get here early in the morning, I leave here at 6 o'clock at night, and I'm on the road. Normally, I avoid most of the traffic, even when it's busy, but there are certain times. Last several months, it's been really, really fast. But over the last week or two, I've noticed a little bit smidge busier. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Check out the Instagram. Got the YouTube channel coming soon. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Americans believe we must support the brave men and women in blue who police our streets and keep us safe. Americans also believe we must improve accountability, increase transparency, and invest more resources in police training, recruiting, and community engagement. Americans want law and order. They demand law and order. What's needed now is not more stoking of fear and division. We need to bring law enforcement and communities closer together, not to drive them apart.
Yeah, Trump, I thought he was pretty good yesterday. This his executive order. And of course, today the GOP unveiled their plan, which the Democrats have come out as they're doing already. That's the stupidest plan in the world. It's awful. And welcome to the world of politics. He said something there, that being the president, about training. Yesterday I watched, I was in between doing some stuff, and I was watching a little bit of Rogan. He had Jocko Willenick on, former Navy SEAL. And he says it's about training. At the end of the day, so much of this is about training and the lack of training. And he was talking about, he goes, he did a 6-month deployment in Iraq. They trained for 18 months. You look at sports teams. I used to play with a guy that was one of the best in the day in the world. And he said, you know what, I never once got paid to play, but I did get paid to practice, train. Officers, in many cases, they don't have that. And if you don't know who Jocko is, check him out. Willenick just is a good dude. He's a crazy guy, but this guy is full throttle, super adrenaline. But let me tell you something. He is spot on. He goes, cops should be spending 20% of their time training. That's what they should be doing. You're on for 5 days. One of those days is training. One of those days, you're training in a different aspect that's going to do something for your job. Some of them say, well, we do. You don't. Because you don't have the time. It's not your fault. You don't have the time. The reality is, it's the job. This is your job. You go do it. It's a day-to-day thing. And I'm like, that's a lot of what it is. It's a lot of what it is. Plus, we ask cops to be everything, right? We ask cops to be drug counselors, social workers, homeless helpers. We ask them to fix the problems that society has broken and continues to ignore. That's, part of an issue altogether. Does this executive order or what the GOP are saying, does this go far enough? For some, they may feel it goes too far. For others, it doesn't go far enough. This is what happens when politics gets involved in anything. What's the first thing you have to do? You have to run out and do what? Talk about how bad the other side is.
His press conference talked a lot about the economy, a lot about how happy he was with sales going up 17%. It was in many ways tone deaf to speaking to their issue at hand that has the country with hundreds of thousands of people in all 50 states out protesting. And then in terms of just the teeth, we will not see change in policing practices to the extent that will stop the large-scale kind of police brutality, racial bias, and other challenges we're having that we've caught on videotape.
Cory Booker right there. Trump could have spoken for 5 hours about police brutality, racism. He could have condemned every officer that's ever lived. And then somebody would ask him a question about the economy. And Trump would have said, it's good, 17.7%. And that's all they would have talked about. Kamala Harris.
There is nothing about what the president announced today that would hold police officers who break the rules and break the law accountable.
Accountable how? Well, what the left wants to see is qualified immunity gone. So qualified immunity is, I'm going to keep it simple, stupid, so bear with me. Qualified immunity is you are working for something like the police force, and because of that, there is certain immunity you are granted when it comes to being sued. So you're suing the city. If one of the big things they want is to get rid of qualified immunity, so that means that you can be sued personally. Answer me a question. Be honest. If you're a police officer or thinking about being a police officer and they say to you, we're going to get rid of qualified immunity, so you should go out and get liability insurance. What do you think is going to happen to police officers? They're going to be like, it's not worth it. It's not. Eventually, what do you think is going to end up happening? Every year you face 5 or 10 lawsuits, of which maybe every single one of them is more often than not is going to be frivolous, but you still have to fight it. You still have to face it. That's a big thing of what they want. The mental health aspect, I agree. We need to monitor better police. We need to get them better training in several different aspects. Throwing the police away, disbanding the police, whatever we want, because there's some people that are totally for that. They're so for that. And there's others out there that understand when you defund the police, it's about putting and allocating money in other areas in underserved communities. But could we just be real? And we can't, because one side has to come hard and say it's never good enough. And the other side has to say it's going too much. Don't give in. It's not about that. It's about what's best for the situation, regardless of politics. If you put politics aside, if you put who gets the W and the L, the wins and the losses, and it means nothing, you watch what happens. But when there's a win and a loss, see what happens. That's nothing. Nothing happens, and when it does, it's minuscule, and it really just usually jumbles everything up and doesn't fix anything or address the problems. Not everybody, though, on the other side of the aisle disliked the way that Trump went about yesterday's press conference and the way that policing is being talked about.
There were a number of families there who spoke directly with the president, with Barr, and also with Tim Scott, and all those law enforcement people were there listening, and they basically just told their stories, which apparently, according to the people I talked to, there were tears, and I think the president was kind and gracious to them. I think it was good that that did not turn into a big photo op. That did not turn into kind of a big media moment. That was more of the process of trying to move this White House forward. And I think those families feel good about having had the chance to tell their stories to the people who have a chance to make a difference.
That's Van Jones. Let's be real. He's not a huge fan of the president. But he is at least giving the president a fair shake. Doesn't matter what President Trump does. He's a firebrand, right? He's P.T. Barnum. He's a provocateur. He loves to stoke animosity and division because he knows his base eats it up. And the other side of the aisle loves that he does that so they can go to their base and say, ha-ha, and they also do it. It was a step yesterday. Was it a giant leap? It was a step. GOP rolled out their thing today. Is it a giant leap? It's another step. The Democrats will come out and say, here is our giant leap. Now ask yourself, what's your must-haves? And we could do without. We'd like to keep, but we could do without. And see what happens. Ask yourself that question. Take away the wins and losses. Take away the D and the R. Put them in a room. Say, look, this is what America has done. They, for whatever reason, thought you idiots were the best that they could do. So they've tasked you with the job of fixing some of these problems, in many cases that you've also created. So take away the W and the L, the R and the D. Find a common ground solution. Won't be perfect. Nothing ever is. But they can't do that because they live and identify with the R and the D, and they care about the wins and the losses. Because even if it's a win for everybody, if your side doesn't do it, you feel like it's a loss, even if it would benefit you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. By the way, just to let you know, Magic the Gathering, which is a game. Producer Phil, have you ever played? I played Dungeons and Dragons a few times as a kid, but then I was like, oh, yeah, I like girls. And I got some game, so I'm not going to do this. Matt, is that kind of like what this is? It's a card game?
I have absolutely. Yes, it's a card game. I've never played it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, see, Phil's not super nerdy, but he's more nerdy than me, right? Because he bakes and cooks all day, and he's played games. I've never played games. We weren't allowed to in my house, but apparently it's racist. So the Wizard of Coast singled out a car called Invoke Prejudice, which I guess you can do to other cards. It's like, is this like Dragon Ball or whatever those games are that you used to play? Is it Pokemon? I don't know. But it was released in 94. It has a ghostly hooded figure. And the database online, The Gatherer, puts it under the number 1488, which among white supremacists is the 14-word slogan. And 88 is the 8th letter in the alphabet, which is H, which is Heil Hitler. So I don't know. Again, I don't play it, but I'm like, is this Aunt Jemima? I see who was looking for this. I don't get it because I don't play it. But alas, here we are. The Rice Krispies. Now, are they elves? Or are they humans? Here's what they're not. They're not real. That's what I do know. But people are upset about that. Aunt Jemima, totally get it. They're getting rid of it. Pepsi and Quaker Oats say, we're done with this. We're getting rid of this. It was based on a stereotypical, absolutely needs to go, 100%, got no problem. But Rice Krispies, that's where you sit there and go, oh, God. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, Boomer Naturals. It's got great face protection and coverings. They're amazing. These masks are incredible. 65% cotton, 35% polyester, 3-layer, high-quality, hypoallergenic. And this is what's awesome. It's treated with nanosilver technology, as well as antibacterial and antiviral protection that lasts on the cloth for 30 days. So it's 30-day, 30-wear. Take it home, wash it in warm water with some soap, Let it air dry. Put it on again. Extra large, large, medium, small, children's sizes. Why does that matter? Because it's not a one-size-fits-all world. Some people have beards. Some people have bigger heads. Some people want to get some for their kids. And a large one's not going to fit them well. Less than 30 cents a day. And they're going to send you a certification to prove the effectiveness of these face coverings. What are you waiting for? You know you got to wear one in a lot of places now. In some states, it's mandatory. Might as well have the best out there. Use code CHAD20 when you check out. You're going to save 20% plus free shipping on all orders over $50. Go to boomernaturals.com. Use that code CHAD20. Boomernaturals.com. Code CHAD20. Boomernaturals.com. Code CHAD20. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? There's so much stuff trending. It's just amazing. It's just crazy sauce. Aunt Jemima's number one. If you guys haven't heard, PepsiCo and Quaker Oats, who own the product, has said that they are going to be moving away from the brand. They're going to change everything. It's being removed to make progress towards racial equality. If you know anything about it, stereotypical black woman towards the end of slavery and after slavery. A minstrel came up with it back in the day. It is, I've got zero problem with this. And already people are going, and this is, this just makes me laugh. Somebody's like, well, what about the Quaker himself? Maybe that's offensive. I'm like, I don't think Barbara Bush is offended by that at all. Oh, never mind. And I'm just like, it's a slippery slope. No, it's not. Stop making it you versus them. There's some things you can go, I got no problem with that. Right? I don't have any problem with that. Some things are ridiculous. Well, we need to get rid of the Rice Krispie, snap, crackle, and pop because there are three make-believe elves? And that's the stuff where you sit there and go, all right, I'm over it. That's where you lose me. This, not so much. Top of that, talking a lot about, the second wave. That is a very interesting thing. What's going on with said second wave? Or are we just in an ever-exciting first wave? Dexamethasone is trending as well. That is the treatment they're trying out in Britain that is showing serious progress in helping the critically ill. Not the average person that has COVID, but people that are on ventilators. And, of course, India and China. And the reason is because India and China seem to be getting ready to throw down in the Himalayas. And that's crazy. Could you imagine that? 3 billion people get ready to go to war? Yeah, it's getting ugly over there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. 'Tis the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Exactly. This is an alarming new study out of Japan that shows people ages 20 to 39, even those without symptoms, may be the ones who are driving the spread of this virus outside of hospitals. The study documents multiple cases where just one young person was able to trigger an infection cluster that infected 5 or more people in places like restaurants, bars, and gyms.
God, not an infection cluster. Write that down. New name for a band. Ladies and gentlemen, infection cluster. Typhoid Mary. How about Typo Mary? I don't know what to do with all of these reports. You wear a mask. Wait, Fauci said at the beginning, don't wear a mask because he wanted to make sure there was enough PPEs for everybody. So he told all of us not to wear one when really we should have been wearing one. Well, now you want me to believe you? World Health Organization. Yeah, you can wear a mask. Does it help? Nah. Next day. You should wear a mask. Does it help? Absolutely. What? Heat kills it, does it? I don't know. You just throw crap against the wall, see what stick? We don't really know anything. Is this the only bad idea? This is the best bad idea we have, to quote Argo. I have no idea what any of it is at this point in time. I just think here's my advice to people. People ask me, Chad, what do you do? I say, I'm a little different because as my human nature is, I have a very close-knit group, the family, lizards, and then that's it. I have a few friends, but a lot of my friends live all over the country. And like, even when I go work out, I work out by myself. I go train by myself. Outside of that, I don't see too many people. So that's me. But you do what's right for you as long as you're not hurting somebody else. If you feel like, hey, you know what, I should wear a mask, or if they're asking you to wear a mask, okay, this is the other thing. If a business is saying, hey, could you wear a mask in here? Don't be a Richard, wear a mask. Or don't go in there. There's also that. Sometimes it's about respect. Well, they're taking away my personal freedoms. If you came in without a shirt, would you be pissed if they said, hey, no shirt, no shoes, no dice? Remember that? Well, I mean, it's different. It's not. If they're asking you to do something, it's okay. Do I find that some of these things when it comes to cities and states are ridiculous? Absolutely. But you got to do what's best for you. When it comes to studies, though, when it comes to what you should or shouldn't do, I think we all realize being in a large group of people at this moment in time, probably not the best thing. Right? I mean, is that fair to say? Yeah, I think it's fair to say. But walking down the street with your wife and you're saying hi to your neighbor for a few minutes, it's probably not the deadliest thing. Giving a hug to somebody isn't going to make you sick. Very small chance. Now, standing there, hugging them and talking to them face to face really close, it's a possibility. But it's about common sense, which, as I love that phrase, but I just find it to be, well, you know, not very common. That's just me. I think most of you probably agree with that as well. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you. Of course, policing, everybody's talking about it. Yesterday, Trump signed the executive order. Today, the GOP is rolling out their reform and what they'd like to see have happen. And the Dems will have theirs, and they'll be totally way far out from each other.
The answer to the question of which side do you support, it's I support America. And if you support America, you support restoring the confidence that communities of color have in institutions of authority.
Tim Scott right there. What side do you support? Why do we have to be sides? I mean, I get there are issues out there. I totally understand that. But why is this like... Here's what I want. I want better policing. I want more modernized policing. I think we want accountability. I want my cops and law enforcement officers to be out catching the bad guys. And at the same time, not having to deal with the mundane day-to-day BS that too often they have to, that we've asked them to do. It shouldn't be about sides, but that's what everything today is about sides, period. You pick a side, you go over there. Who'd want to be a cop? Who would want to be a cop? You know who doesn't want to be cops right now? A lot of cops.
The city of Minneapolis confirming that at least 7 police officers have now left the department since the death of George Floyd last month, and more than half a dozen are now in the process of leaving. And it's not just Minneapolis. Other departments around the country are seeing police officers head for the exits, either publicly resigning from tactical teams or leaving their departments altogether.
Yeah. Yesterday, I spoke to Paul Penzonas, the sheriff, Maricopa County out here. He's the one that beat Joe Arpaio, who's running again, and he's nuts. But he said he has somebody in mind who wants to be a police officer, always wanted to be a cop, and is like the poster person for somebody you'd want as a law enforcement officer. And he said he called him the other day, and he says, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. It's not worth it anymore. I've decided I don't want to do it. And he goes, I was shocked, but I completely understand. You're seeing good cops walk away because we're lumping all cops into all cops are bad. And that's stupid. But that's today's world. It's all or nothing, which is ridiculous. So what do you have? You're going to have more and more of this when people are screaming, defund the police. Some are like, well, we want to put money elsewhere. Okay, understandable. But a lot of people are like, no, we don't want you at all. Wow, that's crazy. What do you expect? Why would you want to do it? I ask myself that every day, and I see cops here on a daily basis. They're in doing shows, doing interviews inside the news department almost every day. I know them, I recognize them, and I keep asking them, why do you want to do it? And a lot of the ones that are in here have now moved on from being the beat cop, the person that's out on the street on a daily basis, to more of a public relations. But every day they're bringing in other cops who are going to be part of an interview that are. And they all say the same thing. I wouldn't do what they're doing now. It's not worth it.
To Atlanta, where the police department there says at least 8 officers have resigned since June 1st. Low morale has taken a toll on the police force. The Atlanta police chief abruptly resigned. The district attorney there says possible charges against the officer who shot Brooks could include felony murder. A police union official warns this climate will lead to more departures.
What we're suffering with in Atlanta, I believe, is we are playing politics. We are bowing down, if you will, to try to appease the rioters. He gets charged without the due process and everything.
Yeah. And that's going to be found out. So when I was talking to Penzone yesterday, I said, Sheriff Penzone, I said, 5th largest city in America. You're the sheriff. You have to deal on a day-to-day basis with officers, law enforcement, the training, the whole 9 yards. He goes, I've not seen the Rashad Brooks video because I don't want to watch it. He goes, but what I do know, reading the reports and stuff, is he resisted arrest. He fought with the officers. He goes, those are felonies right there. He goes, the question I have on what we would do is simply this. He turned and fired a taser. How far away was he? Because if you hit a cop and you've got his taser and he goes down, at that point in time, you come over and pick out your gun. He goes, but if he's 30 or 40 feet away and that taser's not going to hit him, and then you shoot, well, there's some questions to be asked there that are very real. This is what due process is about. But in this day and age, there isn't any of that. And cops don't want to be cops anymore because they're now being told how bad they are, how they're the enemy. And they're doing 5,000 different things that they didn't sign up to do. But because society has gone to hell in a handbasket in many areas, well, Sorry, you got to fix the homeless problem. You have to deal with mental health. You have to be an addiction specialist. You have to be a marriage counselor. And the media really can't stand you. Case in point, CNN the other day. Headline: Hispanic man shot by San Bernardino police. Investigation underway. Did you see the pictures? He's at a gas station with a gun. Not, oh, it looks like a gun. With a gun, pointing it at the officers from 100 different angles because they got the gas station cameras. But that's how they treated it. If you went to work every single day, you put on a uniform, and everybody in the media, for the most part, in the establishment media, is on the virtual signaling train. Whoop, whoop. And you're being told you're the problem and not any part of the solution. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. If Superman came here today, it would be 10 minutes before he offended somebody. And then people will be calling for the cancellation of Superman. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to fly around in space till I find another place that's not insane. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Love hearing from you. I do. Both sides do it, by the way. There's another picture flying around out there that they attributed to CNN of them lightening the skin of some sort of rioter, this, that, and the other. And that wasn't true either. And it's everybody's looking for their angle. And they found the niche, and they're heading down it, and they're doing it, and they don't care if it's right or wrong. They care about the clicks. They care about all of that stuff. And the headlines, they don't care about truth. I'd like to deliver the truth. Sometimes I'll be wrong. Sometimes I won't have all the facts. But at least I'm going to give you a straight shot at it. How you believe, that's on you. Rough Greens, my dog Doodle, here's some truth. Loves his rough greens. So Doodle, my dog, had bad hips. He's got fatty tumors in his hips. When we adopted him, we realized how bad it was. And we thought, well, what is it going to be? And the doctor's like, there's not a lot we can do. They've tried some stuff. So Rough Greens came to me a few months ago, says, why don't you try this? And I started sprinkling it on his food, because that food's gross. I mean, it's meant to stay on shelves for years. There's nothing living in it. So I did it, and lo and behold, within about 7 to 10 days, you saw a real difference. And here we are a few months in, and he is like a puppy. He's doing things that the puppy does that he's never done in the 2.5 years we have him. Bouncing around, jumping on things, doing things he has never done before. Rough Greens, thank you. 25 all-natural vitamins and minerals, digestive enzymes, 15 powerful strains of probiotics, omega-3, 6, and 9, tons of antioxidants. It's the best thing you will ever do for your little furry friend. It's a 14-day jumpstart. It's $14.95. Less than $20 to potentially see a change that you've never seen before in your dog to make him healthier, potentially live longer. That's what Rough Greens is all about. $14.95, 14-day jumpstart. Go to roughgreens.com/chat or call 833-MyDog88. That's 833-MyDog88 or ruffgreens.com/Chad. Rough Greens, we make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
I could play this all day. Crazy woman, anti-mask lady. She's spectacular. It's 38 seconds. Sit back, relax, put on your hats and glasses. This here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. Take it away.
I am a healthy American. I used to be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks. I am not a burglar. I am not a pandering politician like we see here. I am a proud Trump Republican yearning to be free again. Who are you, victim or victor? Shame on all of you. Let liberty ring. God bless America, land that I love.
The fact that she brought props is props to her. But she's not going to wear a mask. She just wants you to know that. I don't care what you do with the mask thing, if you wear one or don't. Right? I know. Here's how I do it. I take personal responsibility for myself. I respect the rules that are set out there when it comes to, if a place asks me to wear a mask, I have a choice whether or not I want to visit that establishment. One of the things we've talked about here, because we usually go to all the conventions, we're not going to go this year. Partly because it just seems like it's a giant... And the other part is I'm not going to fly wearing a mask for 6 hours. That just feels uncomfortable, something I don't want to do. I don't want to be cramped in a space with a bunch of people because, first of all, I don't like that anyway. Take away coronavirus. I don't do that. Growing up in Southern California, I knew the days I wanted to go to Disneyland and the days I wouldn't. Oh, my God, it's September. It's a Monday and it's raining. I'm going to Disneyland. It's June and it's 75. I'm not going to Disneyland. I'm not a crowd kind of people. But personal responsibility is huge. So take some. If somebody asks you, hey, you're going to come in my establishment, would you please wear a mask? That's what we're asking people to do. Then do it. Well, the Constitution, would you go in without shoes or a shirt? If it said no shirt, no shoes? The old saying, no shirt, no shoes, no dice? It's not a forever thing. And you have a right to say, I don't want to go, and do that. But personal responsibility is something that I'm really big on. Do I think it's stupid in some cases what they're asking you to do? Well, if you're hiking in groups of 2, you should wear a mask. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to wear a mask. Right? But if Costco asks me to wear a mask and I need to go to Costco for something, I'll wear a mask. I'll get over it. This is the problem when we only see this or that, when it's black or white, when there's no gray or give. There's none of that stuff. This is that problem. And then you get crazy ladies like that who's apparently not a sex slave, which I have no idea where that came from. No idea. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text said program as well. Check out the Facebook page. Soon to have YouTube stuff going up every single day. I got all kinds of equipment sitting here. I'm going to spend the next few days working on that. Yesterday I was playing around with it. I'm good at, pretty decent at editing, but sometimes the camera side of things gets a little away from me. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Americans believe we must support the brave men and women in blue who police our streets and keep us safe. Americans also believe we must improve accountability, increase transparency, and invest more resources in police training, recruiting, and community engagement. Americans want law and order. They demand law and order. What's needed now is not more stoking of fear and division. We need to bring law enforcement and communities closer together, not to drive them apart.
That's Trump yesterday, signing his executive order when it comes to policing. Today, the Republicans rolled out their bill. Very interesting. It's to improve and reform policing practices, accountability, and transparency. Here's some of the stuff that's in it. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Tim Scott, South Carolina, Senator, has authored the bill. Law enforcement reforms. Use of force reporting. No-knock warrants reporting. Incentivizing chokehold bans. Increased penalties for false reporting. Body-worn cameras. They're going to do grant programs. Law enforcement records retention. Maintaining and appropriately sharing disciplinary records for an officer hiring consideration. Justice for victims of lynching. Commission of Social Status of Black Men and Boys Act. Commission will issue a wide-ranging report on conditions affecting black men and boys, including education, healthcare, financial status, criminal justice system. De-escalation and duty to intervene training. Training's huge. National Criminal Justice Commission Act. Law enforcement agency hiring and training. Best practices study closing the Law Enforcement Consent Loophole Act, which makes it unlawful for federal law enforcement officers to engage in a sexual act while acting under the color of the law. Is this good? I don't know. Is any of it good? Again, I don't know. Everything's a step. Is it a step in the right direction? Democrats rolled out theirs. Republicans rolled out theirs. Somewhere in the middle is probably what we should come up with. But more often than not, what we'll do is we'll argue and fight, and we'll say it's not enough, and nothing will get done, and we'll all just sit there and go, this is what it is. Here is said Senator Tim Scott talking about policing. And, again, I like some of this stuff. I think some of the stuff in the Democrats is pretty good, too. But what they're asking everybody to do is always pick a choice, and that's the ridiculous side of the world that we live in now, because you have to stand somewhere or you stand for nothing. Well, the problem is sometimes you stand over here because you're like, I like what they're saying, and then the other side's, well, we don't like you. And then you're over there and you go, but on that issue, I like what you guys are saying. And then the other side's, well, we don't like you. Oh, you guys, it's all or nothing.
The answer to the question of which side do you support, it's I support America. And if you support America, you support restoring the confidence that communities of color have in institutions of authority.
I support America. I do. I support our president. I don't like some of the stuff he's done. I don't like some of the stuff he said. I don't like the way he acts at times. But I don't want him to fail. I want him to succeed. And if Joe Biden was to win, I'd want Joe to succeed. I may not support some of the stuff he does, but I don't want him to fail. But that's where we are. And now we have, even the way we look at this situation here, which is both sides go, yeah, we do need some reform because it's going to be good for the communities. It's also going to be good for law enforcement. But one side wants to go, well, we'll get rid of law enforcement, kind of. Even though that's not really what it is, but that's the way it's painted. It's nuts. It's nuts. More from Tim.
Too often we're having a discussion in this nation about, are you supporting the law enforcement community or are you supporting communities of color? This is a false binary choice.
Yeah. I have yet to meet a human being, right or left, black or white, who saw the George Floyd video and said, that's a good thing. You realize it was bad. You realized it was murder. You realize it was all those things. Doesn't mean you're anti-cop. Right? It doesn't mean any of that. But that's kind of where we are. I get criticized every day because people want me to pick a side. It's not about a side. It's about what's right or wrong. It's about looking at the issue from every angle, finding out the data, and then trying to understand everything, and then making a decision based upon that. You can support the police, but also realize that there's some bad cops out there. Right? You could support Black Lives Matter, but also realize that sometimes Some people do stupid things, and there are criminals out there that do dumb things. It shouldn't be a binary, but we've made it that way. Choose a side. I choose what's best for the communities, for policing, what's going to make it stronger and better. That's what I want. But we're too busy trying to find winners and losers. We're too busy hoping we get credit for something, as if you picking a side gets you something that's a super bonus. Like, you can go down, like my side won today, and you go down to the your mailbox, and there's a trophy, and there's no trophy in there. So insane. I don't get it. I've never got it. Right? I just look at it like I want the best for my country. I want the best for my communities. I want to see us grow. I want to see people be lifted up. And I want to see personal responsibility. We seem to be in a situation where none of those things, it's like you got to choose some sort of thing, and you're just like, this is what's wrong. Because by choosing something, you're choosing it at the beginning, and you're hoping the other side loses. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Trump going to be out there in the coronavirus world of chaos and craziness. The Oklahoma Health Commissioner has guidelines for I don't know how many people are showing up. I know 1 million people want to get in there.
President Trump and his re-election campaign are pushing ahead with his rally planned for Saturday in Tulsa, Oklahoma, despite growing criticism of holding a large-scale indoor event during the coronavirus pandemic. The Oklahoma State Department of Health Commissioner issued guidelines urging people age 65 and older to please stay home, and attendees to get tested before and after the rally. The state guidelines say, quote, individuals looking to attend Saturday's event will face an increased risk of becoming infected with COVID-19 and becoming a transmitter. Oklahoma confirmed 228 new COVID-19 infections on Tuesday, setting a new state record and continuing a recent trend that has doctors warning residents they need to be more cautious.
65 and older. Be careful. I think that's right. But I also understand, look, people are going to come. And that's on you. You want to go, that's the risk that you're taking. But with something like this, and the chance of spreading to other people who chose not to go, even if they support the president, that's the question that, is being asked. It's another one of those situations where it's people out there screaming and yelling, well, people got to go to protest. Yeah, they did. And it was their right. Trump has a right to do this. I understand why people are protesting. I understand why Trump's doing this. It comes to the personal responsibility side. Would I go to either of them? No. But we've talked about my disdain for crowds, parking, things of that nature. You have no idea. People say, really? I said, let me tell you how bad it is. The World Cup final, I had tickets. I'm like, I'm not going to deal with the parking. I'll watch it on TV. Thank God, because it was an awful game. But that's me. I didn't want to deal with it. Even as a kid, 23 years old, I'm like, no, I'll pass. I've seen enough games. I've done enough. I don't want to be stuck in a parking lot for 4 hours. Too many people. Bugs me. Trump is going to make you sign a waiver. Do I think it's right or wrong? It is what it is. It doesn't matter what I think. People are going to go. People are going to go. But you can't tell people, hey, Trump, this is wrong. You're awful. You're evil. You're all of these things. And you're putting a ton of people at risk when we've seen hundreds of thousands and millions of people over a 2-week period nationwide go out in large groups and protest. Even though they're outside, let's not pretend that there wasn't some transmission and some risk. And that was downplayed because of what they were protesting and the right to protest. But that's the frustration side that comes in on the right. And that's the hypocrisy that says, oh, look at this. Still wouldn't go. Wouldn't. Like, if you're Trump, it's totally easy. right? Because you got all that stuff. They can stop everything, get the car, you land somewhere, they whisk you off, you don't have to wait, you still get to go, you go on stage, you have to be around people, get back in the car and you go. That I would do. Wait in line for days like people are doing? No. No. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Car Shield is going to help you in ways you cannot believe. 800-CAR, 6000 code Benson. 24/7 roadside assistance. A rental car for free while your car's in the shop. The shop, of course, is the shop that you choose. You pay a small deductible. So your car's a little bit older. So, Chad, why should I get Car Shield? What can they do for me? Call them up. Be specific. Say, hey, I'm worried about my transmission, or I'm worried about whatever it is. They've got a plan that's right for you to fit your budget. Plans start as low as $99 a month. Maybe you're like, look, I've got all this computer stuff on my dashboard, essentially. I'm worried about that. Those fuses and all that stuff, super expensive. They've got a plan that's right for you. Doesn't matter what it is or what you're looking for. They have a plan that's right for you and your budget. Call them today. Use code Benson, 800-CAR-6000. That'll save you 10%, or check out the website, carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson will save you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
Delta and American have already said they're not going to be selling alcohol on planes, and part of that is that they want to limit the exposure between crew and passengers. A lot of these airlines aren't going to be even serving those hot meals for a while, so it's going to take quite a bit of time to get back to normal.
Wait a minute. I get to travel in an uncomfortable situation already, as you've jammed as many people as possible into an airplane? And now I have to wear a mask for who knows how long? Now you're not selling alcohol or giving us food? Man, this just keeps getting absolutely better and better. Why not take a plane? It sounds exciting.
We're entering the summer travel season. This is typically where airlines make so much money. Now they just aren't. And now we're learning that a lot of people are going to be taking road trips. They don't even want to take planes. They don't even want to take trains. So they're going to be taking road trips. And we've heard from experts that roads are going to be so congested come this fall.
Oh, my goodness me. Here's the other thing. If you take a flight and they tell you to put on a mask, and you do, and then it takes off, and you take off your mask, you're going to be put in essentially a timeout, and then they're going to put you on a do not travel list because of your mask. Doesn't mean that you can't travel, it just means that maybe that airline itself won't allow you to come on because you didn't listen. It's a private business. They can do what they want. That's why I'm not flying. We have places to go. But we've canceled a lot of the stuff that we were going to do with the show. We were taking it a couple places, the conventions and stuff like that. It's just, it wasn't worth it. And I continue to say, I'm not going to get on an airplane right now and have to wear a mask for 5. I respect that they want to do that. But I also can vote with, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give you my money. But now you're not giving us food or drink. This keeps getting better. Sounds great. Soon you'll be told you're also not going to get a, what do they call them? Stewards? Air stewards? Is that what they call them? Flight attendant? Or a pilot. You get none of it. You just have to sit on the plane, on the tarmac for the foreseeable future. That's it. And then we'll tell you what to do from there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us, text the program as well. Bolton's book, yay or nay?
Justice Department attorneys argue in an emergency lawsuit that Bolton's book, The Room Where It Happened, should be stopped from publication because it appears to contain classified information, echoing a threat from President Trump.
I will consider every conversation with me as president highly classified. If the book gets out, he's broken the law. And I would think that he would have criminal problems.
The Justice Department claims it's not seeking to censor any legitimate aspect of Bolton's manuscript.
You knew this was coming. Still will get out. Best thing that could happen to Bolton is bring more eyeballs and attention. He got a fat upfront fee in advance. So that's kind of, this thing will get out there. What'd you say, Producer Phil? How many is 500 and what pages? 39, something like that?
596.
That's a lot of pages. Could we have not have said this in 200? It's impossible. I get audiobooks. I'm like, that seems like it's 20 hours of something I don't know if I want to listen to all the time. Are there things in there that will embarrass the president? Probably. Will we get some excerpts leaked here and there as we move forward because he's got that big 60 Minutes interview? Yeah. But does it look like you're running from something, Trump? Well, it's hard to say because, they didn't leave on the best of terms, and not too many people do from the Trump administration. So is this just an angry, in-your-face thing? I don't know if it is because, remember, Bolton is still a conservative. Trump is loved by a lot of people in the GOP and the Republican side. So do you burn all of that bridge and have everybody that you like turn their back on you? I don't know if he does. Chad Benson Show.
Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's not a second wave, says Dr. Dan Kwan in Arizona.
Actually, an extension of the first wave. We closed everything down, and then we just sort of delayed all the patients that we would have seen, let's say, 2 months ago.
Arizona, Florida, and Texas all setting new daily COVID-19 records this week. And while some of that is due to an increase in testing, hospitals in Arizona say they are seeing increased demand. In some areas, it's a younger population getting sick now that has gone back out and resumed their lives.
Yeah. People are mad because these clubs, like especially here in Arizona, they're full of people. Oh, my God. And you look in there, they're all 20-somethings. Let's be real for a second as I try to explain this to people. Phil, you are a grown man, much like me now, as we are getting into our younger middle age, as I call it. You were once young, like me. Had a little sense of invincibility, like it's not going to happen to me, right? Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. This is from Producer Phil. Now you get older, you're like, oh, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to get fat around here. Your hair's going to fall out. Yeah. But I don't expect anything different. Well, they could be uber-duber super spreaders. They could be. Absolutely. And that's why you have to say, hey, Grandma and Grandpa calls, says, you can't come over today, Johnny. I know you're out at the club. You can't come over. Well, they should be a lot of things. When I was 20 and 21, I'm sure I should be something, but I'm sure there were times I wasn't. I still look at when it comes to the coronavirus, what is the percentage of people who test positive on a daily basis? So you test 100,000 and 7,000 test positive. Well, that's 7%. Next day you test 100,000 and 6,000 are positive. That's 6%. It's going down. Right? If it gets up to 10, 12, 14, 15 on a daily basis, you see that step starting to go up. Well, then that's a question that we need to start asking, what are we doing wrong? I also want to look at the bed situation. What's it look like? Well, we're going to run out of beds in 2 weeks. Why are we running out of beds? Are we running out of beds because the entire hospital is full with COVID patients, or because the hospital is full of patients that are making up surgeries they've missed over the last several weeks because most places had shut down and elective surgeries were closed? And if those people went home and we scheduled no more surgeries, we'd have 85% of those beds unfilled. Well, that's probably true. Little things you have to look at. But this is not going anywhere. It's endemic. I think a lot of people, including myself, because I tried to listen to what the experts say, thought this was more likely going to be a seasonal thing and that there would be a respite, whether it was from June through September or whatever. It doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be kind of just here. Now we have to figure out what we're going to do, and that's up to each person individually and the states they live in to make the decisions that's right for them and their family. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form we're going to be shutting down. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think states can afford it. I don't think the economy itself, federally, the government is looking at this thing, and man, we're losing tons of taxes. We're pouring out a ton of money, and a second shutdown could put us in a situation where the damage would take years and years and years to reverse it. Now it's just about personal responsibility and doing the best that you can, and that's what's right for you and your family. And to recognize and respect that other people have a different mindset when it comes to this. We've made it political. It shouldn't be, but it is, because we make everything political. We make everything political. Everything. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Speaking of politics, and can I just say it's about time on this one, even though I posted it and people are already giving you pushback for it. Aunt Jemima.
Aunt Jemima. I wish I was on the cotton, Smiling, happy Aunt Jemima.
It's like the most racist commercial. So, Pepsi and Quaker Oats, like Pepsi owns Quaker Oats, PepsiCo, they've decided that it's time to pull Aunt Jemima from everything and to rebrand it altogether, and they're going to do that. I have zero problems with it. Some people are like, this is outrageous. It's not outrageous. It's not outrageous. It debuted in the 1800s. The inspiration was by Billy Curzan's, an American-style minstrel and vaudeville song, Old Aunt Jemima. They talk about it being the mammy archetype, a character in the shows in the 1800s. I'm totally fine with that. I got zero problems with that. None. Totally good. Time to move away from it. Some people will, right? Some people are like, oh my God, they're ruining my childhood. Like, really? The Uncle Ben, that's coming sooner rather than later. By the way, if you look at Uncle Ben and then you watch Django Unchained, you're like, that is like, it's almost like Tarantino said, let's have Samuel L. Jackson do that. It's time. Some of these things. Now, Snap, Crackle, Pop. The Rice Krispie elves, gnomes, whatever they are. People are saying, well, there are 3 white kids or whatever. I'm like, first of all, they're not real. Secondly, they're gnomes or whatever. Whatever. I don't even know what they are. I know they have pointy ears, right? Don't they have pointy ears? It's just, those are the things where it's like, you can't get rid of everything. Not everything is based on race. Sometimes it's just a sugary cereal. Sometimes you look back and you go, this thing went on for way too long. But that's today. Everybody's talking about that. Everybody is. This is the thing that we're like, because we've made everything an issue. Policing is not only an issue that has been here for a while. It is now, you're either pro-cop or you're pro-Black Lives Matter. There is no case-by-case basis in situations. That's what we do. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State football coach, has the worst, best hair in college football if you've never seen it. It is everything that is awful. It's a mullet. But he had a picture that was taken, and he was wearing a One American News, OAN News. Of course, Trump loves it because they love, they love him, and they push a lot of stuff out there, and they have super hard right-wing people that have strong opinions about all kinds of things like Black Lives Matter. And he's talked about the fact in the past that he likes their news and the way they present it to him. But then one of the star players says, you know what, I'm not coming. I'm not coming. I'm not going to play and practice. And he's since issued an apology. Mike Gundy has.
I want to apologize to all members of our team, former players, and their families for the pain and discomfort that has been caused over the last 2 days. Black lives matter to me. Our players matter to me. These meetings with our team have been eye-opening and will result in positive changes for Oklahoma State football. I sincerely hope the Oklahoma State family, near and far, will accept my humble apology as we move forward.
People are like, he needs to go. And I'm like, because he wore a T-shirt? Well, yeah, because One American News, and they've criticized Black Lives Matter. That's the craziness of it all. So you can't have a differing opinion. And the hypocrisy is spectacular. This is funny. Here's a perfect example of hypocrisy. A Scottish professor, a historian, mind you, is going to tell you about stuff, right? As your kids are out there throwing fits and like, oh, let me tell you, capitalism and all this stuff's bad. We need to get rid of this, that, and the other. Hold on a second while I take a picture.
Slavery is the scourge of humankind. It has been with us. Well, we can't really establish a period when slavery wasn't there. And most poignant of all, it's with us now. I'm using a smartphone to take part in this conversation. And I know that the cobalt within the battery in my phone and in my laptop computer has almost certainly been mined by a child slave in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Wait, what? Are you serious? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's more.
The people that were taking those videos are taking videos of statues being destroyed, being filmed by people using mobile phones. People holding those phones were probably wearing clothes that had been made in sweatshops in other parts of the world by other living slaves. If this is to be a coming to terms with slavery, and if we're already making token gestures, then I do wonder and worry, and I am deeply anxious about the genuine motivations. Is this about addressing racism, or is it simply an attempt by anarchists, communists to eat into the built fabric of Britain and thereby to bring down British society?
Which, that's a lot of what it is. Even up at the CHOP, up in Seattle, the thought process of it started because of George Floyd has now devolved into it's more about the anarchist and the people out there who just want this weird societal, let's get rid of everything kind of thing. And Black Lives Matter aren't really, that's a secondary thought in some ways. He's right. Think about this. 35,000 Congolese children, they estimate, are in a situation where it's slave labor. You've got it in India. You've got it in places like Qatar. The World Cup is going to be in Qatar in a couple years. Those stadiums are being built by people who thought they were coming for jobs, had their passports taken away, work night and day, have no choice and no life. How much of it's real and how much of it is about themselves and hoping they feel better? Capitalism's evil and awful, and it's horrible, and it's nasty, and it's gross, and it's all of these things. Hold on while I take a picture of my iPhone because I'm so much better than everybody else. All the while, you have no idea how your phone was built. Kids taking a picture. Look at my sweet Adidas. Things are awesome. Adi Dassler, founder of of Adidas, part of the Nazi Party. Hugo Boss. But hey, as long as it looks good on the gram. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Lightstream's going to help you save dollar bills. How? You're going to be consolidate your credit cards from a ridiculously high, on average, 19% interest rate down to a manageable 5.95% APR with auto pay. Good credit. Stop overpaying. Save yourself thousands in interest. You're still paying off a dinner date that you had a year and a half ago, and it wasn't even that good. The food or the date. No fees, easy to apply, rates locked in, so you don't have to worry about it going up or down. You can even get the money as early as the same day you apply. And by the way, here's your special interest rate discount that I'm going to throw you on top of that. Lightstream.com/Benson, LIGHTSTREAM.com/Benson. You're going to save money there. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes a 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offers subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
Will there ever be sports again? Yes, there will be. Basketball has a chance of coming back sooner rather than later, but there are some issues that need to be worked out. And one of those is that whole life they're going to be leading for a while.
You know, the other major factor, obviously, is the life inside there. The players are going to be in 3 different hotels, but for the first 2 weeks down there, they're not going to be able to associate with anybody outside their hotel. So if your good friend is on another team, you're going to have to stay with FaceTime. In addition to when you arrive in Orlando, up to 48 hours in your room. You may not leave while you quarantine.
Yeah, that's tough to tell grown men not to do something like that. Especially when you're already putting them inside of a special bubble. You're just like looking and going, oh. And then, you know, like Jeff Van Gundy talks about here is there's some people that are like, I don't know about this at all.
I think every coach is going to have to understand some players may be unwilling to play for any different reason. I don't think you can become too judgmental on those reasons. And then secondarily, some players may have that do come because they want to collect their money, may have different levels of enthusiasm for participating. And that's where, as far as a coach, you either want somebody completely in or completely out.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, like, that's totally what you want. It's like either you're here or you're not. Something we talked about with Colin Kaepernick. The first question I would ask him. The first question is, are you here to play football? Or are you here to raise awareness to social justice issues? Which I'm fine with you doing, but this is also a job, and that comes first. And if your job is to be a social justice activist, then go do that job. Not saying you can't do both, but the first thing has to be, if you're going to be on a team, this is the commitment that you're going to have. Basketball, some of these guys, they don't want to be there, right? They're talking, the U.S. Open's not going to have fans. And they're saying if they have to quarantine people, even though Serena Williams come out and says, yeah, we're looking to do this. But if you can't have your family around you, some people are saying, you know what, we're just not going to go. And I get that. For some people, like, oh, my God, I would love to have 2 weeks away from my family. For other people, that would suck. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text at me. Check out the Instagram and Facebook. Do a Facebook Live in a little bit. Check it out on the old Facebook. I just want to say I'm off for the next couple days, but Craig Collins is going to fill in for me. Appreciate that. Thank you, Craig. I also want to say it's Father's Day weekend. That's why I'm going to go spend time with Jack. I haven't seen him for a couple months, and it just eats me up. But I'm excited and have him for a couple weeks. Dads are important, and we look at all the strife and the chaos and the craziness going on. One of the things what people don't talk about is there's a lack of fathers in homes. It's important to be a father and to be a father figure, and we often forget that. It's kind of become a throwaway, and I don't think it should. It's more important than ever before. Have a great, safe, good rest of your week and weekend. We'll do it again next week. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.